Stop before the knife, before the kiss, before the ashes. I want you to look at one thing. Her eyes. Not the throne, not the dragon, not Jon Snow standing behind her with murder in his heart. Her eyes, because there is something in them that nobody talked about. Something that does not look like confusion, does not look like madness, does not look like a woman who is surprised. It looks like peace, and that should terrify you. Because this is a woman who survived the Red Waste, who outsmarted the warlocks of Korth, who looked at every single traitor from Meereen to Dragonstone and saw them coming before they ever made their move. She did not survive 30 years of assassins, usurpers, and betrayers by being blind to danger. This is a woman who read rooms, who read people, who understood power so deeply that she crossed an ocean with 3 dragons and no allies, and won. So why, at the absolute height of her power, on the day she finally reached the Iron Throne she was promised since birth, did she let the one man in the world who could kill her walk into a room with no guards? Why did she turn her back on him? Why did she pull him close? What if it was not a mistake? What if Daenerys Targaryen, the most politically dangerous survivor in the entire history of Westeros, walked into that throne room already knowing exactly how the story would end? Today, we are going to look at the evidence the fandom ignored, the moments they dismissed as bad writing, the signs that were there the whole time, hidden in plain sight. Because what if the real tragedy of Game of Thrones is not that Daenerys was betrayed, but that she saw the blade coming, understood it completely, and chose not to run? To understand what Daenerys knew, we have to understand what she was watching in those final weeks. She was not just grieving, she was analyzing, collecting data, building a picture that nobody else in that story could see because nobody else had paid the price she paid to get there. She watched Sansa Stark weaponize Jon's secret with surgical precision. Daenerys had asked Jon, begged him to keep his true parentage buried. He promised, and within days, Sansa knew. Then Tyrion knew. Then Varys knew. And Varys, her own hand, the man she trusted with her life, began writing letters to lords across Westeros suggesting that Jon Snow should sit the Iron Throne in her place. She watched her closest friend Missandei, the woman who had been by her side since Astapor, who had chosen her freely when she could have walked away, who called her the breaker of chains with tears in her eyes, get captured and executed in cold blood, while Daenerys was forced to stand and watch. Cersei did not just kill Missandei. She made Daenerys witness it. She wanted to break something inside her. She watched her dragons fall from the sky. Viserion, killed beyond the wall on a mission that Jon Snow had led. Rhaegar, shot down over Blackwater Bay by a weapon nobody warned her about. 2 of her 3 children, the 2 creatures in the world who had never betrayed her, gone. She arrived in Westeros with the largest invasion force the continent had seen in a generation. By the time King's Landing fell, she had almost nothing left. No allies, no advisors she fully trusted, no family, no friends. And through all of it, every betrayal, every loss, every whispered conversation that stopped the moment she walked into the room, Jon Snow remained. Loyal, steady, honorable, which is exactly what made him the most dangerous person in her world. And here is where it gets chilling, because Daenerys did not survive 30 years by missing things. She did not build an army from nothing by trusting the wrong people. She did not cross an ocean by being careless. She survived by reading people. And in those final days, every single sign points to the same conclusion. She had already read Jon Snow completely. Think about the conversation they had after she burned King's Landing. Jon comes to her horrified, shaken. He has just watched her turn thousands of innocent people to ash in the streets. He is barely holding himself together. And Daenerys, standing in the ruins of the city she just destroyed, tells him something that most people wrote off as madness. She tells him that she liberated the people of King's Landing, that she is liberating the world, that she will break the wheel everywhere, for everyone, whether they want it or not. She sounds like a tyrant. She sounds unhinged. But look closer. She is not making a speech. She is asking Jon a question. She is asking him, "Are you still with me?" Watch Jon's face in that moment. He cannot do it. He is a man of honor in the very specific, very northern, very Ned Stark way. And what he just witnessed is something his honor cannot process or forgive. He does not argue with her. He does not accuse her, but he cannot say yes. His face says everything his mouth will not. Daenerys sees that. She has always seen that. She has spent her entire life surrounded by people who either worshipped her or wanted to use her. She knows the difference between someone who believes in her, truly believes, and someone who is standing next to her while calculating the cost. And Jon Snow, in that moment, is calculating, not out of malice, out of conscience, but the result is the same. He is going to choose what he thinks is right over what she needs him to be. She has seen this before. She saw it in Jorah when he spied on her for Robert Baratheon. She saw it in Barristan when he kept secrets he should have shared. She saw it in Tyrion when he freed Jaime without telling her. People who loved her, genuinely loved her, but could not follow her all the way to the end. The difference is, this time, the person who cannot follow her is Jon Snow, a man with a better claim to the throne than she has, a man that half the North, half the Seven Kingdoms would die for, a man whose very existence, whether he wants it to or not, is a permanent threat to everything she has sacrificed her entire life to build. She locks him up, not because she wants to, not because she has given up on him, but because she has finally accepted what her mind has been telling her for weeks, not because she is certain he will betray her, but because she is no longer certain he won't. And in Daenerys Targaryen's world, that uncertainty has always been a death sentence. Now we come to the scene itself, the scene that broke the internet and divided the fandom and sent 1 million people to their keyboards in fury. Jon goes to see her. He has just come from Tyrion's cell, where Tyrion, in chains, condemned to die, spent their entire conversation doing one thing, slowly, carefully, methodically taking apart every reason Jon had left to stay loyal to Daenerys. Tyrion knows Jon better than almost anyone. He knows that Jon Snow cannot be argued into betrayal. He cannot be bribed. He cannot be threatened. The only way to move Jon Snow is through his conscience, through the people he loves. So Tyrion does not say kill her. He says, what about Sansa? What about Arya? What about the next city she burns and the one after that? And Jon arrives in that throne room already a man who has made his decision. He just has not admitted it to himself yet. Does Daenerys know this? Look at the scene one more time. Ash is falling like snow around her. The Red Keep is in ruins. She has finally, after a lifetime of exile and loss and war, reached the place she was promised. The Iron Throne is right there. She reaches out and touches it, and her face is not triumph, it is grief, the face of a woman who just realized that the thing she spent her entire life chasing feels like cold iron in her hands. Then Jon walks in. She greets him with warmth, real warmth, but underneath it watch her eyes. She is reading him. She is reading the set of his shoulders, the way he will not quite meet her gaze, the particular silence of a man who has decided something terrible. She asks him to stand with her. She tells him they will do it together, build the better world she has always believed was possible. And Jon Snow, the worst liar in Westeros, tries to lie to her. You are my queen, now and always. She knows. She has heard real declarations of loyalty from people who would burn the world for her. She knows what that sounds like. And she knows what it sounds like when a man is whispering goodbye while he works up the courage to move. She kisses him. She does not step back. She does not call her guards. She does not give the order that would save her life in an instant. She pulls him close. The man she loves, the man she knows in her bones is about to end her, and she presses her lips to his. Because if this is how it ends, if this is the last moment, she is not going to die flinching. She is a Targaryen. She is a dragon. And dragons do not beg for their lives. This is what the fandom missed when they called her a villain and moved on. Daenerys Targaryen was not a woman who lost her mind. She was a woman who lost everything she ever loved and kept going anyway, until the moment the one person she had left chose duty over her and put a knife between her ribs. Was she wrong to burn King's Landing? Yes. There is no justification for what she did to those people in the streets. The show was right to treat it as the horror it was. But here is the thing about real tragedy, and this is what George R.R. Martin has always understood, even when the show could not fully deliver it. A true tragedy is not about a bad person receiving punishment. It is about a genuinely good person, with real and admirable qualities, being destroyed by the exact same things that made them extraordinary. Daenerys' greatest strength was her absolute, unbreakable belief in herself and in the world she was trying to build. It was what kept her alive through years of exile with nothing. It was what allowed her to walk into Drogo's funeral pyre and emerge with 3 dragons. It was what made broken people across 2 continents choose to follow her. And that same belief, unchecked, unguided, stripped of every advisor and loved one, and anchor that once kept it from tipping into obsession, became the thing that burned 60,000 people alive. Jon Snow was the last anchor, the last person in the world who could have reached her and pulled her back from the edge, and he did not. Not because he was cruel, not because he did not love her, because he was honorable, because he was in every way that mattered his father's son. And in Westeros, as Ned Stark proved in the very first season, honor is not armor. Honor is a blade aimed at your own throat. If Daenerys saw the blade coming, and the evidence says she did, then her decision to kiss him anyway, to pull him close instead of pulling away, is not weakness. It is the most devastating kind of love this story ever produced. The kind that looks at the person about to destroy you and says, I understand, I forgive you, and I love you anyway. She died the same way she lived, reaching for something she could never hold. Game of Thrones ended. The fandom argued. The petitions were signed. The discourse raged for years. But underneath all the noise, underneath all the debate about whether the ending was rushed or earned or fair, there is this woman, standing in a throne room full of ash, reaching out to touch cold iron, knowing the man behind her is already gone, and choosing to love him anyway. That is not a villain's ending. That is a tragic hero's ending. The kind that stays with you not because it was comfortable, but because it was true. And maybe, just maybe, that was the point all along. If this video made you see Daenerys differently, share it with someone who called her crazy and never looked deeper. And if you want to understand how Jon Snow became the man who could do this, the man who chose honor over love, duty over his own heart, I have a video on exactly that, linked right here. Like, subscribe, because the tragedy of Daenerys Targaryen deserves to be understood, not just mourned.